Okay, talking with Dennis Chase. Dennis, can you tell who you are and just kind of explain a little bit about what's going on?
Okay, I'm a retired biologist from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I work with many groups of people, helping them to analyze the environmental impact of projects on their individual areas of concern. The West Fayetteville bypass has a large number of citizens being impacted. Most of them are immediately concerned about their homes, but there's a big portion of this where it's going to impact the environment. The route that has been selected, the route that was approved by the County Commissioners tonight, crosses at least 8 wetland areas, stream crossings on several of those, and all that's going to require a Corps of Engineers 404 permit under the Clean Water Act. What I told the County Commissioners last meeting and again tonight is that this is serious enough issue that we're going to consider a potential legal action, actually a series of legal actions. The first of which is the fact that I have filed Open Records Act requests, as have several members of the West Fayetteville Bypass Coalition, and the information in the files has been very sparse, particularly the detailed information on how we got to the 2003 transportation plan. That is what's driving this entire program. They say the plan tells us what we're going to do, but there's nothing or almost nothing in the files that we've been able to find. Tonight, Lee Hearn told us that, oh, I've got a lot of material, and I'll show it to you. I'll answer all of your questions about how we got where we got. This is the first time that they've been willing to talk to us. So what we're considering is, and I've called an environmental attorney, and I'm waiting on them to get back to me, and I'll sit down and find out what it'll cost. But we intend on filing questions or complaints with the Georgia Attorney General's office in relation to the Open Records Act requests, the lack of information in there. There is a possibility that they have misused traffic analysis data because we don't have any experts that can look at that, but we're going to be having the legal people look into that issue. There have been some questionable actions regarding some of the property owners under the eminent domain issue, some getting better treatment than others, and that's causing some unrest among some of these people. But the most serious question that we plan on asking you as the Georgia Attorney General is the question about the splost vote. They voted tonight referencing that as the issue that was driving this, and yet no one knew the West Fayetteville bypass, particularly that route that's being taken, was on there. Most of the material we've been able to find shows that it doesn't have specifics on that. Probably don't have to have specifics for this, but we're going to ask the State Attorney General to investigate that for us, to say, is the action that was taken, putting this splost in place, appropriate? Once this starts, and they start filing for permits, we will file a complaint, a question, potential legal action with the Environmental Protection Agency, that's the United States and EPA, over the failure of them to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act. The National Environmental Policy Act requires that when there's a state permit, federal permit, federal money, they are supposed to investigate whether there is a significant legal or a significant environmental action. That requires, first, the statement of the purpose, statement of the need, and the reasonable alternatives that are available to the county to meet that purpose and need. The West Fayetteville bypass plan, as it sits, could have been one of those alternatives, but the federal law requires no action alternative to be evaluated, and any other reasonable alternatives, and several have been proposed. If this document doesn't exist, they're in violation of the National Environmental Policy Act, and we believe that EPA will back us up and tell Fayette County, you have to prepare an environmental impact statement. If they get to the next point, and that is a Clean Water Act permit for all these wetland permits, then we once again will require an analysis of the least damaging alternative from the environmental standpoint. And we believe that there are several alternatives that they can take to get around Fayetteville that are not going to impact the significant wetlands that they're going to impact. And we believe that we can win with the NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. We believe we can win with the Clean Water Act. The problem is, we could have avoided all this. We could be not contemplating taking legal action if they would sit down and talk to us. But I don't think these people are well enough aware of what's going on. Like I said at the statement tonight, I don't think they understand what they're facing, and they're thinking that they don't have any other choice. But it gets to, we're going to follow this alternative because this is the alternative we selected, and that's the reason we're doing this, because we decided to do this, and that's why we're being put into the position of, we're almost at the point of no other choice but legal action.
How many people are there in the, roughly in the West, what do you call it, the coalition?
The West Fayetteville Bypass Coalition has about 90 people. Mm-hmm. That's somewhere around 50 or 60 households. Some of them are more active than others. And then there's 3 or 4 of us from the outside representing other organizations. I represent the Line Creek Association. There's a couple of other small organizations or individuals that have provided some support from outside areas. This amazes me that we're at this point, and this wouldn't have happened in prior commissions. Even going back prior to Greg Dunn's being commissioned, those commissioners didn't like me. They didn't like the environment, but they could at least explain why they were doing what they're doing. Yeah. These guys can't, and they either can't or they don't know, and both scare me. It just, it's a strange situation.